been done before. The marketplace is crowded. We can't compete with the big companies. There are many reasons why an idea can die, why inspiration can be left unfulfilled. The gap between concept and rolling up your sleeves to begin is a yawning chasm for most. But for some, that gap is crossed, that fear conquered. The day job is left behind and an adventure begins. It's an audacity to beat the big guns at their own game, a belief in your idea and your ability to execute. It's starting in the garage with a confidence in your success and a vision for the future. This is the American way.
Went to the local bike shop and I asked if I could apply for a job there. And the guy said, "Are you mechanically inclined?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "We'll see." And he went in the back, he took a Sturmey Archer 3-speed wheel off. He took a couple of spanners and opened up the cones and dumped it all in a box. And so I had to spend the night trying to figure out how to put this 3-speed together, but I did, and I ended up getting a job in a bike store. I've been collecting bicycle components for many years now. Everything from early water bottles and cages to handlebars and stems. And here I have a collection of bicycle pedals that go all the way back to 1877. And here's a great example of early great design. These are the very first pedals to ever have ball bearings in them. I mean, I love designing, I love building. I was fascinated by the mechanics of it. I love the simplicity and the beauty of it. Riding a bicycle, I think, is one of the most enjoyable things you can do. I moved to California because the racing scene was here, and I got into racing here. Kind of a pivotal thing happened to me. This local engineer named Steve Ball has a workshop behind his house, and he's a machinist and an engineer and an inventor. I was able to, probably for the first time ever, see somebody that could make things from scratch. He taught me to look at things with a fresh look and see if there's a better way to do it, just do it. Clipless pedals had become pretty popular by this time, and I thought, let me take a shot at making a better clipless pedal. And I thought, what would make a clipless pedal better? If I can make the first double-sided clipless pedal, that'll be a big invention. This is the grandfather of every Speedplay pedal. We made it and tested it. It allowed us to see if the idea actually worked. No matter where you land on the pedal, it naturally will find top or bottom, so you don't need to know where the top or bottom of the pedal is. It naturally finds it on its own. The very first road riders that we showed it to had really no interest in it. It was so shocking to see this pedal that didn't look like a pedal, and it just started kind of one rider at a time, and by word of mouth, one would tell the other, "Hey, this thing really is cool." And we ended up with Julian Dean and Gord Fraser, and they won hundreds of races between them in the U.S. They became the dominant U.S. racing team. That started getting the wave going, and then Jonathan Vaughters started racing in Europe, and then Tyler Hamilton started racing in Europe, and then Bjarne Riis started riding Speedplay, and then 3 months later he wanted to have his team start riding Speedplay. That brought us into the European racing peloton.
My amateur days, I mean, the first and only pedals I've ever used are Speedplay. Amateur days, straight through the national team, racing domestic pro and now Euro pro. Every team I've been on has been Speedplay. Honestly, I love the pedals, I love the cleats, I love how they work, I'm just a lifelong Speedplay guy.
I was curious that, hey, what is that? Well, is that a serious pedal or is it just a toy? And I gotta say, I was skeptical at the start, but I'm just convinced by just the pure result. I mean, the The power transition is a lot better, it's a lot more direct because you're sitting right on the axle with your foot. You can pedal through almost every single corner because I'm riding with 177.5 cranks, so the longer, and I can pedal through almost every corner with that. And I do not know one single rider on this planet who has a knee problem or a problem with his Achilles tendons for using this system. I would almost go that far to say I choose my teams for the pedals they use, honestly, no kidding.
People had to ride it. It didn't look like a pedal, but once you were on the bike, it felt like a pedal, and it did the things that pedals do really well, but it just looked so different that it was hard for people to wrap their head around this thing actually being a pedal.
Well, it's San Diego, California, so I live here and I've come by Speedplay to pick up some pedals and some cleats, the new lightweight ones, so they're making stuff a little bit better and a little bit faster every day. Yeah, you got to remember the cleats are rotational all the time too, so it's a big difference saving weight there versus someplace on the frame of the bike or something. Well, looking at the pedals, not the strange thing. It's when you first get into it that you just have so much float that you're just so free. And at first you're like, wow, this is really weird. And then 2 hours into it, you're like, this is fantastic. And then what you really notice, and you don't notice it when you first start using the pedal, you notice when you go back to a different pedal and then you come back to Speedplay, you notice how fixed and solid they are, how they don't rattle, they don't have any play up and down like this, and they don't have any play forward and backwards. All their play is just where you want it, just rotational.
We have to build to a higher tolerance in order to have that nice connection than any other brand. We've done production here in the US, and it allows us to really focus on making sure that all of the parts fit perfectly. And when people put the pedals together, they know who they're going to. I mean, the liquid gas pedals are made for the liquid gas riders. The guys in assembly know who they're building the pedals for. It's a special thing for our whole crew here when we build things for the top guys in the world. What's next for Speedplay is the mountain bike pedal. This is actually designed with a built-in pivot in the cleat so that the float is actually designed in. The lugs of the shoe don't even touch the pedal body at all. It has the stability of a road pedal, but it's got the adjustability of a zero road pedal. As the designer of the product, I'm really into performance. You know, the way I see it, and it's sort of the culture here, is sure we could make Buicks, but we'd rather make Porsches. I get lost now in the race wins that we have. It's fantastic. As a huge fan of racing and lifelong cyclist, it's just super fun to see people winning the Tour de France and the Giro and the Vuelta on Speedplay.
We have a staff of intelligent and creative people. We've tried our best to fill the building with people passionate about cycling. It definitely is a compilation of people that care a whole lot about what they do on a daily basis and what they're trying to create. I'm somewhat of an anarchist by nature, which creates problems for those in the building that are trying to develop order. So I've always came at things from a different way. And so when we launched the brand, we took 2 years to fully develop our products, and we wanted to make sure that when we came to the market that we did it right. I was chasing being the best, and that doesn't happen easily, and it doesn't happen quickly.
We bring in a lot of raw material. We're consuming somewhere in the neighborhood of 70 to 140 pounds of uni tape. which is it's carbon fiber and a unidirectional. It's not a traditional weave. We cut them into panels, and then those panels we cut into kits depending on the wheel size. It'll consist of several pieces that construct the wheel. Those kits are going to be within about 15 grams, so we can ensure that that bill of materials or kit has the proper amount of pieces in it to construct the wheel.
You know, carbon isn't carbon. You know, carbon is process, and process is what creates the product that you're going to ride or use, and that's the quality that you're going to have. So with carbon, you can give everybody the same materials, hand it to them, and get 90% differences in end result just based off of how they process the material. It's an insanely process-sensitive material.
So behind me is the layup room. You know, one thing about our molds is they're like no one else's molds in the industry. As far as molded in spoke holes, molded in braking surface, all of these tools are very sensitive. So this rim is right out of the mold. It's fully cured at this point. One of the beauties of our product is it doesn't require fillers or paint or any sort of sanding. Very, very minimal. Typically all we're taking off is just a flash line.
The thing that people have to understand when it comes to composites is you're building out of string and glue. And string really only offers you a benefit in tension. And so if you go into a structure that is designed to build tensions and carry loads through tension, and you cut all the strings, then you're simply relying on the glue to hold things together. And for me, I'd prefer to rely on the strings. By the time a part comes out of a tool here, whether it be a wheel that has molded in spoke holes and molded in brake tracks, to a fork that has a molded in brake hole and is done in one piece, we put all of our energies and our design creativity into the tooling prior to making parts. The idea of doing something people say can't be done is an approach here that we've embraced. Again, I have to be really grateful for the partners that I have in the business and their willingness to do that. We take a lot of pride in the fact that we make stuff here, and it becomes a sense of community, but most importantly, it's all based around the foundation that we're a family business. You know, we have a lot of husband and wives that work here. We have, you know, sons and daughters that work here, and people are happy to be here, and we've really tried to create an environment where people can flourish. We feel like that all lends itself to being able to have a real shot at an American manufacturing facility. I mean, it's American culture, right? And it's kind of time to take it back. I can guarantee that we won't stop innovating, and I can guarantee that we'll do our best to stay true to our brand. Well, that's a constant pursuit for excellence, and I don't know that it's a destination. I think it's a journey. Where ENVE goes, I don't know. I've got my own ambitions, but I'll keep those to myself for fear that I'll commit to something I shouldn't.
There's a lot of different analogies that we draw, but it's, you know, the best one is typically gas and brakes. You know, Gary's going to push things as far and as fast as he can. I'm definitely going to be a little bit slower to evolve, slower to change, slower to push the envelope.
There's many ways to get things done, and we do have different ways of going about it. I would say Rob is very methodical, very detailed. He likes to take on a single project and execute it at the highest level, where the more balls I have in the air, the more bricks I have on my shoulder, the faster I have to run. That's where I execute.
What we get in combining those two things is really kind of a perfect marriage, whether it's how we've designed the brand, how we built and developed the company, the culture of the company. It's definitely got a little bit of both of us in every facet.
You know, it's just one of those things when you meet somebody and you know it clicks. You come from an American-Italian family, a lot of the same values and philosophies, and just something where you build an immediate friendship or bond. It's somebody that you can trust and you have a lot of things in common.
We're both Italians on my dad's side and on Gary's dad's side. The family's derived from Italy. Gary's from the north, I'm from the south, so that's another way that we're very different.
This is the fourth company that Rob and I have worked at together, but the first company that we've owned together. And I think after 20 years, you have a friendship, the same values, and there's not a lot of overthinking in anything. That the trust factor is there.
I decided at the time I wasn't married, didn't have a family, not as much of a risk for me as it might have been for Gary. I'm ready to quit my job. I'm ready to do this full time.
As we all laugh about it, I happened to be flipping the channels, having a glass of wine, and the Goodfellas was on. And of course, I'm going to stop and watch it a little bit, and all of a sudden it came up. They were talking about the Capo di Capi, the boss of the bosses, and I'm like, Capo. It's simple, it's powerful, it's 2 syllables, and it means the leader or the boss. And that's where we wanted to position the brand, was at the top.
Original taglines was to stand out. We want people to look different, and we want them to develop an identity. Whether they want to or not, they're going to look different in our clothing. So it definitely has some aesthetic appeal, but obviously, as important as that might be, and it's varies per individual, the product obviously needs to work, and it needs to work when you're riding. Things need to contour, things need to fit well. From the minute you step on the bike, 2, 3, 4 hours into a ride, getting the best products that we can really spec in terms of the fabrics, the chamois, and really trying to push the envelope too on those products as well. Really the idea when we're talking about product development, the first thing we kind of try and outline is what types of fabrics, technologies we want to introduce. Carbon seems to be a pretty common theme for us, and I think will continue to be. It's getting more and more common through some of the textile mills that we work with. What's nice is that some of the carbon fabrics prior really lacked the elasticity, and we found that by reducing a lot of the carbon in the fabric, you still gain or keep a lot of the elasticity, which is what we like to see in a lot of our polyesters for tops. We still want to maintain enough stretch and elasticity to say, hey, this is going to fit you, this is going to fit you tight, it can fit you a little bit looser, it gives you more freedom of movement, but at the same time providing you with SPF protection, UV protection, antibacterial, antimicrobial, anti-static, all the things that carbon will do for you.
We're changing the name of the game, that you're going to have something that's fashion forward that you want to wear, but it's going to impact the cyclist in a positive way. And pretty much in 2006, when we brought the brand out, we went through 3 men's kits, and it's something that nobody had seen. Head to toe, on and off the bike, your European apparel supplier. And we wanted from socks to knee warmers to bib shorts to a base layer to a jersey to a cycling cap to gloves. We wanted it to match. Our business philosophy is that we are going to keep it in Italy at all costs. That's why we run so lean and mean, so we're able to do this. I don't think our margins are as high as some of our competitors.
Whether it's the cycling industry, the outdoor industry, any industry, I think people want to gravitate towards the original craftsman of any sport or any industry, and for cycling, that's obviously Italy wholeheartedly.
The 2012 Rev Tour, I think, it's a huge opportunity for us as a company, as a brand. 6 non-professional women that are training for 90 to 120 days leading up to the Tour de France, that they're going to ride 3,500 plus miles specifically in all Capo gear, and to take that feedback and develop our next generation products is second to none. It's invaluable. You can't put a price tag around it. We're using current cutting parameters for the Baccio short sleeve jersey and the Tigressa bib short. So the girls right now are training in these products. They know exactly the fit. The material will change a little bit because we are going to sublimation for them and customizing the kit. So the fabrics will be a little bit different, but fit and feel and function will be exactly the same. So they're going to know exactly what they're getting to ride the Tour de France in.
We are basically split 50-50 between our inline Capo branded apparel and our custom branded apparel. The two really feed off of each other, and we really want to be great in both, and I think today we're very, very good, and in some cases great in both, but there's certainly opportunities where we could improve in many key areas.
Cycling is not a sport, it's a lifestyle, and it's an Italian lifestyle for us. There's a direct correlation based on how we were raised and based on the beliefs that we have. It's about impacting the rider in a positive way, and Rob and I aren't going to build anything that we're not going to wear and we're not going to use. I'm not going to build a product just to make money. If it doesn't benefit a cyclist, we're not going to build it.
My name is Rob Carbone. I'm Vice President of Capo Cycling Apparel and Upland Sports Group.
My name is Gary Vasconi. I'm the President and co-founder of Capo Cycling Apparel.